poisoning your minds with unnecessary drama, bland reaction videos, and skibbity toilet. Your next challenge lies before you. A review for a movie that you may or may not like. Complete the challenge, and you will live to watch good content. Fail, and you will have to face the ultimate punishment. Watching The Nun 2. Make your choice.
Ooh, boy. So I just got done watching Saw X, and my God, this movie did something to me. Whether or not that's good, I haven't really lost sleep over it, so, you know, whatever, at least there's that. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a brief, rundown as to what the movie is about, and then from there, I'll give you guys my thoughts on the movie as well. So we start off with John, our protagonist. Yeah, protagonist is the right word. I was going to say hero at first, but he's not exactly a hero. He's not exactly a good person, but, in this specific instance, you're kind of, rooting for him, you know? And he's kind of the good guy, even though he's technically a murderer.
What murder?
And so we're finding out right now that John Kramer has cancer. The movie started out with him in, an MRI machine. And so that's basically, the main, thing that's kind of driving this movie a little bit. While he's in the hospital, he sees this guy that's stealing stuff from a comatose patient, and the patient is all bandaged up. He's got a tube down his throat, and he's got these metal bars attached to his fingers or whatever. I still don't know what the fuck that does. So John is watching this janitor custodian guy, and he's watching him take the patient's stuff, and then it just hard cuts to our first trap. Okay, hold on. To our first trap. You'll see why I say it like that in a minute. And so it's the one trap that we've all been seeing on the promotional material on the posters. You have an idea as to what this trap is going to be. Oh, and before I continue, spoilers! If you want to go ahead and watch the movie spoiler-free without my words poisoning your fragile little mind, go for it. I would say go watch the movie. It's alright. It's better than The Nun 2, but to be honest, so basically this guy has the janitor guy has a modded Oculus Quest 2 just strapped to his forehead. The whole point of the trap is that he's got to turn this dial 5 times, and each of those times breaks his fingers and stuff, and so he pretty much gets halfway through it, and then the machine that's attached to his eyes it turns on. I thought that was the actual punishment was him losing his eyesight and then dying and bleeding out and shit. I thought breaking his fingers was just an appetizer or something. And that's another problem that I have with these traps is I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but the problem that I have with these traps is that John doesn't give any of these fucking people enough time to get out of them. There's just no realistic way to do the things that they do within the time that he gives them. You can already anticipate who's gonna live and who's gonna die just by how the trap is. And like I said, I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's just go back to what I was talking about. The trap activates, and so the guy's eyeballs get sucked out of his head, and it's you see it go through the tube, and it goes into the vacuum chamber. It's kind of cool. But then all of a sudden, we just cut back to the hospital, and it just never fucking happened. What the fuck? This is the trap that you have been promoting for this fucking movie. This is the one trap that we've all been seeing. Why not make it a real trap? Why did you have to just waste it on a fucking daydream sequence? What the fuck is this? The ending of Twilight? And so we hard cut back to the hospital, and so the guy sees John Kramer peeking out from behind the fucking blinds like a peeping Tom. And then he just hurriedly puts all the stuff back. And I don't think he was doing that just because he was going to get in trouble at the hospital. I think he's just doing that because he's legitimately afraid of John, because, my God, look at the man. Who wouldn't be scared of that? And so he's walking out, and John's like, you made the right choice. Okay, what the fuck? And so John goes to this therapy session, and everybody's talking about how they have cancer. There's one guy there that's named Henry, who John meets up with later at a cafe, and John's drawing out he's not drawing. What the fuck? What was he doing? Oh yeah, he was writing his last will and testament. And it's very kind of it's pretty sad. It's a pretty sad moment. But then he starts talking to Henry. Henry's like, oh, dude, yeah, like, I feel great, man. Like, check this out. And he, like, lifts up his shirt, and he has this big-ass, like, scar. Because I think he had, like colon cancer or kidney cancer, something like that. Henry's telling him, like, yeah, like, they removed the tumor, and, you know, it's all good to go. And then John's like, oh, where'd you go get this? And he's like, well, I can tell you one thing. It's not in the States. I winked right there, if you can. And so he tells John, like, yeah, I just took this drug cocktail and I got a surgery. And it's just like, John, you are a smart man. Why would you trust somebody who tells you to take a fucking drug cocktail? Like, what? Just desperate times call for desperate measures, so whatever, that's fine. He writes down a fucking link on a piece of paper and just gives it to John. And then John does all this research as this doctor. Like, he's like, oh, you know, I got people healthy, and like the doctor has a daughter, and then like the daughter has like a phone number that John calls, and so John calls her and he's like, hey, I want you guys to help me, please. And so the lady's like, yeah, man, we're gonna be traveling, so you know, we can probably see you in a few months. And like, she's like, oh, you don't have a few months, huh? And John just like looks at the phone angrily. He's like, no shit, Sherlock. And so, no, that doesn't actually happen. But it essentially it does. And so he sets an appointment in Mexico City. This is another problem that I had with this fucking movie. The color grading, when he lands in Mexico, it just turns the entire fucking thing yellow. And it just, I'm like, oh my god, it's 2023. Like, we're still fucking doing this, really? He gets picked up by this taxi driver, and they start pulling up to this complex. And then John and the taxi driver end up getting stopped by like a van, and like, these guys in ski masks, like with like big ass guns, they like come out and they start like shouting and stuff. They pointing the guns at them. They're fucking taking John out. They're taking John out of the taxi, and they're like fucking grabbing him and manhandling him. I'm like, bro, he's like fucking 80. You're gonna break him. So he's like, are you John Kramer? Are you John Kramer? And he's like, and they're like, oh man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, John. Like you're you know, they're like dusting him off and stuff. He's like, yeah, come over here, sit in the van. So, you know, you have a seat. Do you want a Fresca? Do you like Fresca? Is Fresca still a thing? He used to drink Fresca a lot. Anyways. And so they take him to the complex and stuff. And so this is where we meet one of our newer characters. Her name is Gabriella. He, for some reason, just has like a weird crush on her. I don't know. And so he's meeting everybody else, and so he runs into the doctor and stuff, or eventually, and he gets like a tour of the facility, and like the facility is like this abandoned, I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't remember what the facility was before. All I know is that it was abandoned, it was creepy, and it was the perfect place for a Saw movie to take place. That's literally all that you need to know. And so we get introduced to all the other characters and stuff. This is the part that I was talking about where I said that there are some scenes in this movie that I thought were funny. The daughter of the doctor, her name is Dr. Peterson, and so I almost said Peterschmidt. She's asking him like, oh, John, like, what do you do for a living? And John is like, yeah, I'm a civil engineer, and I like to build stuff, and, you know, I got hobbies. And she's like, oh, you know, like car collecting and stuff? Or he's like, no, I'd like to make people, you know, rethink their life and help them out and stuff. And she's like, oh, like a life coach. And he's like, something like that. And so fast forward a little bit, and he starts to go through the surgery, and he's kind of like in and out of surgery because like he's got a tumor in his brain. And I don't know why they do this, but like for whatever reason, when they operate on your brain, like you have to like stay awake. He goes through the surgery and he wakes up, and he's got like the bandages and stuff, and the doctor's like, yeah, you're ready to go, man, get ready to live your life. And he's like, sweet. And so it's a really nice sequence. I actually did like the sequence of him like realizing, oh shit, I just got a second chance at life. When is all of this gonna change? Oh, shit, yeah, that's right. I forgot. He, like, meets up with there's this kid, like, this family that lives kind of near the facility. And so there's this kid that was trying to, like, fix the wheel on his bike. He was asking, he goes up to the kid, and the kid obviously doesn't speak a fucking lick of English. He wants to repair the bike for the kid. He's asking him how to say pull in Spanish, and so he fixes the fucking wheel and, like, makes friends with the kid. You know, it's really sweet. And so he goes back to the abandoned facility, and then, lo and fucking behold, it was a fucking scam. Everything is just destroyed. He realizes, like, oh shit, like, they were just fucking with me. And so he looks at himself in the mirror and he starts taking out the bandages on his head, and he sees he has like no scar. And so the first person that he goes after is the taxi driver. The taxi driver ends up getting kidnapped. He straps like pipe bombs onto his arms, and he gives him like, he duct tapes like scalpels to his hands, and he's telling him like, oh, you got to cut the pipe bombs off your arms in order for you to live, or else they'll explode. And so he ends up doing it. Good job, man. Congratulations. You've won. After that, John makes a couple of phone calls, and then we go through the sequence of kidnapping the other characters, and one by one we, start collecting them in very, very scary sequences. This is my other problem with the movie. Trailers for this movie, I tried to avoid them as much as possible, but Instagram likes to do this thing where they just show the trailer randomly, and so I saw that Amanda was gonna be in this movie. And once everybody started getting kidnapped, I knew pretty much immediately that I was Amanda. And so they kind of set it up as like, oh my gosh, Amanda's in the movie? What? And it's just no fucking surprise at all. Like, that was weird. So he gets all four of the victims, I guess. Like, everybody's chained up against a wall. One of the victims, her name is Valentina. She has to cut her leg off and then suck out bone marrow, and like it gets into this machine, and so like it like kind of like sieves out the bone marrow and the blood. The bone marrow slowly goes down, and like it has to like reach all the way to the bottom in order to turn the trap off, which is basically like a wire that's right on her neck, and so it's gonna cut her head off. She was kind of freaking out, and so she kept saying, no, I'm not gonna do it, even though the fucking clock is running. She's still like, no, I am not gonna do it. Lo and fucking behold, right before she's about to complete the task, the fucking trap goes off and she dies. But Amanda and John go upstairs to go make out or something. Like, some point, Amanda rolled out this cart with her like code in it, and it had like a cell phone in it, or I think it was the doctor's cell phone, Dr. Peterson. It was hers. And so what ends up happening is that Dr. Peterson cuts open Valentina and just starts like pulling out her fucking large intestine, or her small or large intestine, or her fucking guts. And so she like severs it and then makes a fucking rope and basically like lassos her intestines over the cart and starts pulling it towards her and grabs the phone. She's calling somebody, and lo and behold, Amanda comes up from behind her and like tases her or something, and she grabs the phone and yeah. So there was this other guy that was there at the facility as well that John had met. His name is Parker. You hear him like outside and like on the cameras, and he's like, "Cecilia, you bitch, I want my money back." And so they end up kidnapping Parker, even though he's not supposed to be a part of the game, and he's just another sucker who got, well, I guess sucked into the scam as well. And so John and Amanda keep him tied up. They take his gun away. And while all that is happening, the anesthesiologist, Mateo, his trap is, like, he's strapped into a chair, and what he has to do is that he has to carve his skull out and put, like, some brain tissue into a jar that will activate some thing. The brain matter was like dissolving and stuff, and like, and so the switch again was like moving at a snail's pace, and again didn't give him enough fucking time. But at the same time, these people were like freaking out, and they're like, I don't want to do this, even though I know for a fact I'm gonna die. Just do the fucking trap, man. He ends up not being able to do the trap. There's a mask that's like right next to him, and like it's open, but then like the heating coils inside start to heat up, and then like the mask closes, and it's the Aztec mask that the taxi driver was talking about earlier in the movie. And so Gabriella is next. She's the one that John like had a massive crush over for some reason. I don't know. She's like chained on her hand and on her foot, and so she's like dangling up there, and then the fucking x-ray machine is like, John somehow modded the x-ray machine to like shoot just pure radiation at her, and so she has to like break her foot and break her hand to get out of the trap. And so guess what? Sure, she ends up looking like fucking Freddy Krueger by the end of the trap, but she wins the game. Oh my god. Gabriella ends up surviving the trap. She, face was just melted to hell and back. John and Amanda are like, okay, we need to get to our fucking hospital ASAP. You guys go do it. We'll go home. So before they're able to do any of that, Parker ends up getting free. He forces John and Amanda to get out. The twist in this part is that Dr. Peterson and Parker are actually fuck buddies. and they've been in cahoots this entire time. Like, that's the person that, she was calling, and so he was in on the whole scam as well. What ends up happening is that Dr. Peterson kills Gabriella by just fucking, like, snapping her neck with her foot, and I don't even know if that's even humanly possible. Introducing her as, I guess, the main, I don't want to say villain, but I guess antagonist. She then forces John to get strapped into one of his traps, which is like a seesaw.
Do you get it?
She tells John, like, yeah, I know who the fuck you are. You're fucking Jigsaw. Like, what, you think I'm fucking stupid? And then, again, another scene where I don't think it was meant to be funny, but it kind of was. And she's like, come on, John. Do the scary voice. Do it for me. Right after that, we get the realization that the little kid from earlier whose bike was fixed by John is outside of the facility, like, kicking a soccer ball. Dr. Peterson goes out there, and she tells him, like, oh, come inside. And so, like, my mind was actually kind of racing during this part. I was thinking to myself, like, damn, because you can see him outside on, like, camera monitors, and so I swear, I thought she was just gonna blow his fucking brains out right then and there. Ends up not doing that, and so what she does is that she brings him inside, straps him into the fucking seesaw on the other side. It's basically like a waterboarding trap, except there's no water, it's just blood. So they had to kind of, like, go back and forth with, like, lifting the seesaw. Like, one side either gets the waterboard treatment, and then the other side doesn't, and so they kind of go back and forth. Remember how earlier I was saying, like, he was asking him how to say pull in Spanish? And he just tells him, like, don't pull. So the kid and John end up, like, going back and forth with, like, tilting the seesaw, and then, like, Amanda's, like, strapped in the corner. Well, not strapped, but she's, like, strapped in the notion that she's chained to the wall. And so Dr. Peterson and the fuckboy Parker, they end up going upstairs because, like, there's, like, a sack of cash that they wanted to just, like, leave with, and she was like, oh, the only reason, do you want to know what I felt when I saw you killing all of my other colleagues and me killing Gabriella? Less money to split. Oh god, please just fucking die. And so they end up going upstairs into like the control room, and so they see the bag of cash, and so they pull it. But guess what? It was attached to a tripwire.
I found the source of the ticking. It's a pipe bomb.
Yay! And so that sets the whole thing off. That seesaw trap ends up getting deactivated, and so they're basically rescued, and so that room ends up getting locked as well. That entire thing was just an elaborate setup. Of course it was, because it's a fucking Saw movie. They have to basically, like, sacrifice one another to, like, survive. Like, one of them has to die because, like, the room starts filling up with gas, and there's only, like, one hole that has, like, enough room for them to, like, start breathing oxygen. And then so Dr. Peterson ends up killing Parker because she's fucking selfish, and even Amanda earlier was like, she's gonna kill you and blah blah blah. The reason why John set up that trap is because he was interrogating Diego, the taxi driver, and so he was telling him, like, oh yeah, Parker's in on this. This is where you can find this person. This is where you can find this person. This is where you can find this person. Now we're at the ending, and I didn't like this ending very much, but I'll get into that later. Parker ends up dying. John, Amanda, and the kid end up walking away scot-free, and so the doctor survives the trap, but, like, her head is just sticking out of that little hole that she has to breathe out of, and I'm just kind of thinking to myself, like, couldn't she just leave? Like, she could just leave now. The trap is deactivated. There's no gas in the room. Like, what are you doing? She could just go to the fucking police and just, like, what the fuck? I didn't stay in the theater for very long after the movie ended, just because I don't do that anymore. I don't like doing that anymore. But apparently there was a post-credit scene where Henry, the guy from earlier, the one with the big scar on his stomach, he ends up getting kidnapped because he was a part of the scam as well. Oh my god! He's got, like, a trap strapped to his stomach and so, or whatever, and so John and Mark Hoffman from the previous Saw movies are, like, looking over him, and the music is going on and stuff like that, and so on and so forth. Whew! God damn! And that's where the movie ends. So, my thoughts on the movie. I can't see myself wanting to watch this again. Like, if a friend told me like, hey, I've never seen any of the Saw movies. I want some company to go watch this one. Will you go watch it with me? I will probably say yeah if I'm free. If I'm gonna go see it by myself, no, I'm not. I'm not. If I were to plug this into like a rating scale, I don't know, I would give it like a D plus, a C minus, somewhere around there. Like it's a passing grade, but you're at like the lowest tier of a passing grade. Overall though, as a movie, like on its own, it's not bad. It's not a bad movie. I can definitely see people enjoying this. People who are saying like this is the best Saw movie out there, for me, it's just I like to feel tension. I like to feel anticipation. I just like to feel when I'm watching a fucking horror movie. And for this one, I felt hardly anything during any of the scenes. I mean, yeah, sure, there were a couple of moments here and there, but overall, as an entire movie, it was just, I basically felt like I was waiting for each scene to end. But now that we've reached the end of it, should you go see it? Sure, why not? Like I said, it's not a bad movie. Like, if you like horror movies and you're just like a general horror fan, like, go watch it. Or if you're just like some person that's curious about the Saw movies, you've never seen them before, I would say go watch it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'll probably do this again with another movie. We'll see what happens. I don't know what's coming out next. Oh, well, this is coming out next. But yeah, thanks for watching. Really enjoyed doing this, and I'm going to get started on editing now because this is a lot of footage, and this is my first time doing this, so I'm not exactly sure how to get this all done in a short amount of time. All right, I have been Blitzkrab. You can call me Lars if you want to go ahead and subscribe, and you want to like the video, and you want to leave a comment telling me that I'm a fucking idiot. You're more than welcome to. I very much appreciate the engagement. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.